Do you guys hear that?
Is that boss music?
Go naked and just go with the sword and that's it.
What do I do with all this?
It says it in the title.
I'm a slut for roguelites.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Unearthing Games Podcast. My name is Erica, and I'll be your lead excavator today. I am also joined today by Nick.
Howdy.
And we dig games. So what have you been up to, Nick, since the last time we recorded?
Well, I mean, so I know last time we talked about like how I'm trying to cook up game ideas and stuff, right? Well, it's one of those things where like I don't know if authors have this problem, but like I keep having ideas, like base ideas, like not ideas to continue any one path.
Yeah.
Like it's like I have all these different game ideas where it's like, oh, game about, you know, whatever. Come back to it. So I'm making like, so I have like a whole bunch of Post-it notes that are like, this would be a cool idea, research that. This would be a cool idea, research that. But I'm not actually doing any research.
Yeah, and I kind of got on you for that today, because you're like, I just don't know what to do anymore. Nothing makes me happy. And I'm like, you want to make a game, like, actually do it. Like, you have these ideas, but you haven't sat down and just been like, okay, I'm going to focus on the card game. I want this many cards. I want them to do X, Y, Z. Like, you haven't done that yet.
Well, and that's just it. Like you got on my case this morning about this, and so just today, I feel like I've made lots of progress on how to on mechanics and kind of like base idea for one of the games I want to do.
Yeah.
And so I've been bothering you about it all day.
Yeah.
And to the point that I'm at the point now where I'm ready to basically try to make my own little mock-up version. Mm-hmm. So like I probably have to get your help since you're a master Googler. But I've been trying to find a Microsoft Word template for cards. You know? Like for playing cards. And so I've been looking for like a template for that.
Okay.
Thinking about it, I probably don't really need to do that. I could just do like a grid, you know? And then we can cut them with the little line cutter guy.
Yeah, if you do it like landscape orientation, you add a table into the thing, and you just have the table fit the entire page. Yeah, or at least like the margins.
I think right now the way I've got it, like within printable margins, I think I can fit like 9 cards if they're like standard card size.
They also don't have to be standard card size.
This is true.
You can make like little mini cards.
That's true. We'll see. Like I said, so
like Stardew Valley.
Oh yeah.
The smaller
ones. Those are just little baby cards. Yeah, no, that's a good idea. So yeah, so what I need to do is I need to figure out what I want written on just the base prototype card.
Yeah, like it would just be like attack, whatever. Like,
exactly.
It wouldn't be formatted in any specific way.
Exactly. Like I mean, like eventually, yeah, I can worry about, you know, having space for artwork and flavor text if that's even going to be a thing. It just like right now, I just need to have, like I said, it just needs to be base playable components.
Yeah, that way we can play rounds and see like, oh, this works, this doesn't, maybe you need to add X. And then you can add it real quick and we try another one.
Exactly, yeah. So I've been working on that. Real excited. I feel like it's actually coming to a head. Yeah. Like I said, I feel like got enough basic ground rules to actually play test it.
Okay.
So hopefully the mechanic is fun. Hopefully. In my mind, it sounds great. I'm hoping that
I think so far, like, we've been talking about it a lot. I feel like this is the only thing I've been doing this week, because I've been busy with work again. But it sounds like it'd be fun, and, like, talking about it and thinking it out has been a lot of fun, just the process itself.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like this is definitely going to be one of those things, like, we're going to have to enlist other playtesters.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, what we're going to have to do is you and me will play it a bunch. Yeah. Just the two of us at first, right? And then, after we've, like, ironed it a bit, you know, we've got it kind of we've ironed out a lot of the wrinkles.
Yeah,
we could write out some like base instructions and like give it to my older brother, so like him and his wife could play.
Yeah,
that way it's like 2 people who have no involvement with this at all, because like I've been bouncing ideas off you for a while, so
yeah,
I don't have to like explain to you how the game works.
Well, exactly, and that's what I've been thinking about. Like, we can playtest it a whole bunch, but then you actually have to sit and write the instructions.
Yeah.
Like that, since we've been talking about it a lot, you haven't thought a lot about what to put in there.
But in my mind, though, what I'm thinking, it's going to be so simple that you would probably only need like a little one-pager kind of guy. Anything else would just be like flavor text and artwork and stuff.
I was going to say, you could also do, because you were thinking of like having a little board with it, you could do more like a Cristallo type of thing where you put cards together and that makes the board. So that it really is just like a deck of cards that you play with.
Oh, I like that. We'll have to test this round, because like my whole, like I said, my dream, like the kind of games we love are the ones that they're just complex enough, like it requires a bit of thought. You know, they're not mindless like playing War with a deck of cards where you're just flipping cards over. You know, they're not mindless, just complex enough, but it's got to be fast. I want to be able to play it in like 20 minutes or less, kind of thing, or maybe 30 minutes or less.
Yeah.
Like that's my dream, where like you and me could sit down and in the evening play 5 to 10 rounds of this game.
Yeah.
You know, that's my dream. That's the kind of game I want to make.
Okay. At
least right now.
Yeah.
A lot of the other ones, those may be time sinks.
Yeah, no, the other ideas you have are like big, like
No, not all of them. Not all of them. Don't you? The one that you helped me think of is not going to be a huge time sink. It'll be longer.
It'll be longer because it's more variable, and it's all just based on rolls.
Yeah, I mean, there is always going to be that luck.
That one is less strategy, more luck based.
Yeah,
in the format that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, we'll see. But so that's that's kind of what I've been up to this week. I mean, I've been thinking about that a lot. We're about to go on our trip. I think when this actually comes out, we're going to be on our trip.
Yeah.
And so I've been looking at a lot of different games that like we could play in the car.
Oh,
since it's going to be like
my parents have Travel Scrabble. So you
I
pop
would
in the little
I would
letters.
Just kick your butt. You wouldn't stand a chance. Yeah, I'm gonna be a Travel Scrabble boss. But I don't know. I've just been thinking about that because, like, I know we're all gonna be alternating on who's driving and stuff like that. But there are gonna be periods where it's you and me not driving, and eventually I will run out of things to say to your dad. You know?
Yeah.
Like he won't, he won't, but I will.
Yeah.
You know? And, like, I don't want to just cook up ideas for, like, things that I can do in the car to keep myself entertained. I mean, we're a team.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you gotta look up, like, classic road trip games, like the license plate game and stuff like that. Which you don't know anything about because you've never done road trips.
My family doesn't do road trips. The longest road trip my family's done is driving, like, from where my parents are to Dallas, which is, like, a 5 or 6 hour drive. But still, that's it. We've never done this whole multi-day long road trip where you're literally going cross country.
Yeah.
We ain't done that. I didn't do that growing up.
We used to do I'm such a nerd, but we used to there was like a little, like, not like a deck of cards, but it was like a long, sort of like a deck of cards, but it was all connected at the bottom, and so it all like swiveled like a fan type of thing of cards, and they were like trivia things about like the United States. Like it was like a little kid's, like, they still have them at like Barnes and Noble and stuff, where it's like 4th through 5th grade American trivia, and then you would take that, and we used to do that on car trips. Yeah.
There's got to be like Travel Trivia Pursuit or something like that.
Like an actual board and everything?
No, like travel. Like, think of like, we have the little Harry Potter one, the little mini one.
Yeah.
Where it's literally just a deck of cards and a dice. You know?
That's true. Yeah.
So, like, we could bring a little notepad. I'm planning on bringing a notebook.
Mm-hmm.
So we can keep score and, like, you know?
Yeah, like, trivia questions, I feel like, are good things for road games.
Because, like,
you just
I feel like your parents are probably chock full of random knowledge, you know?
I mean, how do you think I know all my random knowledge? We used to do trivia on car.
I figured your dad just told a lot of stories. Because the man is a talker. So
I used to love that when we were road tripping when I was younger. But it was specific, like, the one I had was, like, U.S. specific, so it'd be like, name the whatever president, and it'd be like, oh, that's so-and-so, or...
So, yeah, I would do horrible at that.
What state's known as the Granite State, and stuff like
Jacob would probably know that. We'll have to ask him next time. He's gonna be like, well, Nick, that's clearly Montana or something. You know, I have no... Don't tell me the answer.
Okay.
Because he's probably gonna listen to this podcast.
I probably don't even fully know the answer. But I have a rough idea of where that state's at. Of which one it would be.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, stuff like that. And so that's how we always did that. And then when me and my sister went on our road trip, like, 4 years ago, we did it, we did more, like, facts. So we drove through, like, 4 different states.
Okay.
And as we entered each state, I would pull up, like, just random facts about the state, like what the the flag look like, what the bird and the tree and the flower and the song and all that stuff is. So you learn more about what state you're going through.
Do you remember that there was a random thing back in like the early 2000s that I can remember? It was a little ball, right? And it was 20 questions. Mm-hmm. And you would think of a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it would just ask you 20 yes or no questions. And at the end, it would guess what you were thinking. The little ball would.
It's called 20 questions.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's called 20 questions.
Yeah.
Do you remember that thing?
Yes.
How accurate that silly thing was? Like, I don't understand how it would guess what I'm thinking.
Because you're giving it the answers.
It's asking yes and no questions.
But, like, it narrows it down very quickly.
I'm just saying that, like, I could be thinking of, like, celery, and, like, through 20 questions, it would narrow it down to that and be like, are you thinking celery? And I'm like, how did it do this?
But, like, you could easily confuse it, though, in a way, by being too specific. And I used to do that all the time. And
that's, but in games like that, I thought, like, the rule is you're not allowed to be specific. Like,
well,
like, you can't think of, like a specific actor. Like, I can't think Sean Connery. It has to be, like a Scotsman or something like that, you know?
Well, you could, like, if it says it's, like, is one of the categories is, like, is it a rock or a mineral? Like, if you have Jacob doing that, he could be very specific and be like, oh, it's labradorite, and it would never guess that it was labradorite.
It depends on how much information you have about the thing you're... Because, like, what if it asks you a yes or no question, and, like, what you believe is correct is wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if it asks me if it's a fruit, and I'm like, no, but it's a tomato, you know? And tomatoes are fruit.
Yeah.
So...
I'm just saying.
Whatever. Stop making light of my thing. Like,
yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. But that's more like a solo thing to do.
No, you could just play around in the car, you know? Be like, all right, you know, your dad's driving. I'm like, all right, think of a thing, you know? Mm-hmm. And then I start asking him the questions it's asking.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm just trying to think of fun things we can do in the car.
I mean, you could do 20 questions with people.
Yeah, I'm not smart.
Like, I could ask you, like, think of a movie. And then I'll be like, okay, is it a sci-fi movie?
No, guess right now. What am I thinking? Movie.
I don't know.
No, I'm thinking of a movie.
I have no idea. I can't just guess. That's what the 20 questions are for.
I figured you would just know what my go-to movie is.
I'm thinking Star Wars.
There's 9 of them.
I'm not
actually,
of a specific
like 11 now if you count like Rogue One and Solo. And
I know. Also, because it's on the wall in here, we have pictures of like the Millennium Falcon and stuff.
Yeah, but there's also like Knight Artorias from Dark Souls.
Not a movie.
Link holding up coffee.
Not a movie. Scott Pilgrim is the only other movie on.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you had just used context clues, I guess you went with the more obvious one. So. Yeah. Yeah,
there are 1, 2, 3, 4 5 6 of Star Wars in here, and 1 of Scott Pilgrim. So, I think my guess was more.
Whatever. It was the red herring. It was the obvious answer, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's the obvious one.
But yeah, like, you could just do that with people.
Well, I'm just thinking. Like, I remember I went on the road trip with you and your sister and her husband to Nashville.
Yeah.
And I just spent the entire time playing games on my phone, you know? But as a group, we didn't really do a lot of talking. We all just did our own things.
I feel like we talked a lot.
For small portions of the trip.
You can't just continuously talk for 12 hours.
Your dad will prove you wrong. But, no, I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Like I said, I felt like most of it was, like, her husband was putting movies on the screen or whatever. And I think you were knitting. Something.
I was crocheting. I was finishing the skirt that I was going to wear while I was there.
And it was an awesome skirt.
It
turned out really well.
I should line that and take it on this trip.
You should. You talked about lining it. Because remember, you had to like go and buy is it a slip? Is that what it is? Yeah, and you had to go and get that separately to go under this skirt.
I don't think I have fabric to match it right now.
We've got days until the trip.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have to go to the store to get like Dramamine and stuff like that, because you said I'm going to get car sick driving in the mountains, so...
Well, the mountains are very curvy and twisty, and just from the few, like, slightly curvy and hilly roads here, I know that you get motion sick.
It just depends. It just depends.
So
you're right, but it's better safe than sorry. The last thing we want is, in the middle of a road trip, me getting sick.
Yeah.
that's not fun for anyone,
No, it's
including myself.
But yeah, so we have time.
Yeah, we've got time. So we can go look at it after we're done recording today.
Yeah, if it even still fits me. It's been 4 years.
Oh, I bet you it fits. But we'll update y'all on that. Update y'all on the skirt next time.
Well, not next time. Next time.
No. Well, yeah.
Next time.
I don't know.
We'll have to record one in advance. Sorry, guys.
But in one of the next 2 to 3 episodes, you'll have an update on did Erica find the skirt? Did it fit? Did she line it? Did she defeat Majin Buu? I don't know. Next week on Dragon Ball Z.
All right. On that note, let's get into the games we played this week. So what game did you play this week, Nick?
Okay, so this game, I played it a lot more than just this week.
Yeah.
This is actually a game I picked up a couple of years ago. I think I actually picked it up when it first came out, if I'm being honest.
I'm pretty sure you did, yes.
So the game I played this week, or the game I'm talking about this week, it's called Graveyard Keeper. This guy came out in August of 2000, does that say?
18.
2018. So several years ago, and I picked it up when it first came out. This game was developed by Lazy Bear Games. I love that name. And it's published by Tiny Build. And I love Tiny Build. They make such interesting stuff.
Their booth at PAX was always really
Their
fun.
booth at PAX is always amazing. So the tags for this bad boy on Steam are pixel graphics, which, as y'all know, I'm a sucker for, crafting, RPG, simulation, indie. I don't think there's a tag on there that does not describe a game I love. You know?
Simulation, maybe.
Yeah, but I do like simulation games and all that.
But you wouldn't play Farm Sim with me. I want to play Farm Sim.
No, I would totally play Farm Sim with you.
Oh, okay.
I would. It's kind of like how Stardew Valley has kind of lost something for me now that I've played so much of it with you, where I don't think I could play it by myself and still have fun.
Yeah.
It would be relaxing, but would I be having fun?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I do because simulation just means that you're pretending to do a real life task.
Yeah.
You know? Like Stardew Valley, we're pretending to farm.
Yeah.
But we're not really farming.
You're not a farmer.
Yeah. I'm not an actual farmer. As much as I want denim overalls.
Yeah.
It's not a thing. But like I said, so I love all this stuff. So Graveyard Keeper it's got this serious sort of tone about it, but I love games that have a serious tone that don't take themselves seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So this game, the premise is you play a guy from, I guess, the modern era, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The start of the game has a little cutscene where your guy is leaving a grocery store, and it shows someone calling him on a cell phone. And as he's about to pick up the cell phone, you get hit by a car. That's how the game starts. How the main character gets hit by a car.
Reminds me of Friends. I'm just what's gonna happen? Bam! Hit by a bus.
Exactly. I have no idea what we're referencing there because I've only seen one season of Friends.
Haven't seen all of it. Yeah.
But that's that all happens in the first 2 minutes. So, and then your guy you suddenly meet who I'm assuming is the Grim Reaper. It's some weird guy in a dark trench coat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And your dude's all confused. And he's like, "Oh, where am I? What happened? I have to get home." And he's like, "Nah, man, you got hit by a car. People don't go home after that."
Aww.
Which people do.
Some do, yeah.
I was like, some do. Not this guy, apparently.
Yeah.
And so this guy basically says that, you're moving on to the next chapter of your life. You're going to be a graveyard keeper. And the guy's like, what? And he's like, I have to get home. And he's like, well, then I hope you're a really good graveyard keeper. And then you wake up and you're in this little house. I still don't know what that means.
Okay.
I have sunk 100 and something hours into this game.
Yeah. And
I still don't know what that means about the whole, how being a good graveyard keeper.
Well, you never finished it.
I did, though. I did, recently.
Okay.
So, this game is a story in acts.
Yeah.
Because when I first played it, the game was good. Because the base premise of this is, honestly, the game is a lot like Stardew Valley. You're in a place, and you have a lot of things you can manage. So, you're the graveyard keeper. So, obviously, every day, this donkey and cart will bring, a body, and you have to go and bury the body in the church cemetery, and you have to go and craft, a headstone and a little plot border and stuff for it.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the base mechanic of the game. That's the task that's always happening. You have to do that every day, basically. And as you're going, the game slowly picks up more and more complexity, and you unlock more and more things you can do.
Okay.
So, you can wind up, making more, making food and stuff like that you can sell to the villagers in town. you wind up being able to grow crops that you can, again, sell to the villagers in town.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of this game, a lot of it's about making money, which you know me.
Yes.
So like you have to do all of this stuff where like you just get a bunch of different little quests from all the NPCs. It's like a game of never-ending fetch quests, essentially. But like all of the quests will be like, oh, I need you to make me something. And so one example is like the bishop who comes and visits the church once a week. He like randomly will ask you for a bunch of stuff. Like one time he's like, hey man, I need like some clay bowls. I want to go and work at the soup kitchen, but the bowls they have there are gross, so I don't want to have to touch those. He's like, could you make me a bunch of bowls for me to put soup to give the poor people? Thanks, that'd be great, you know?
Okay.
And so like you make him like 12 ceramic bowls and give him.
Yeah.
And that unlocks, more of the stuff, more of the story. So it's pretty cool. Like there's a difference. There's like 6 days on the calendar, on like the week calendar. There's a little wheel that spins, and so every day of the week has a different symbol it's associated with a specific NPC.
Okay.
And those NPCs are only in town on their associated day.
Okay.
So those are the ones who primarily give you missions and quests and stuff like that. So it's kind of like I give you a mission, you've got 5 days to complete it before I'm back.
Okay.
And you can, give me what you did. Otherwise, you have to wait a whole other week.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of them. So like one of them is the bishop guy, There is a merchant who comes in who's like a gourmet, he's a foodie.
Mm-hmm.
He loves food.
Yeah.
There is the Inquisitor, who is trying to stamp out witchcraft and evil and all throughout the land. There is the singer, who she's like she comes and sings at the bar. So there's the singer. She's like a famous person from the town, which you never get to go to the town, but the town is like some special place that's nearby.
Okay.
And then there's the astrologer,
Mm-hmm.
who he's like a scientist who works at the university or something in the town.
Yeah.
They all of them come from the town.
Yeah.
They never tell you what the name of the town is, just the town.
Yeah.
And so like they all give you random missions, and basically like the whole plot of the story is your guy is trying to figure out a way to get back home.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of stuff like you at one point you dig up a skull, and it's a talking skull, and he bounces around, and his name's Jerry. And Jerry loves alcohol. So he'll constantly ask you for like wine and beer and stuff like that. But Jerry seems to know things. And so Jerry is kind of like guiding you through how everything in the game is supposed to work. He's basically the game's built-in tutorial.
Okay.
Where he's kind of like, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z, And so he'll teach you how to do extra stuff. Like, hey, there's empty plots over there. Maybe you could plant some crops in them. Or, hey, have you ever thought about making nicer headstones? Maybe if you built a whatever, you could cut stone and make, stone headstones and stuff like that instead of just wooden ones.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the game slowly pushes more and more stuff on you.
Okay.
I remember when the game first came out, it was really grindy because a lot of the tasks take quite a bit of time, and you have to haul things long distances.
Yeah.
Like one of the things is like the way you get wood is you go and chop down a tree, right? Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But when you chop down the tree, it'll break into like 1 to 3 logs.
Yeah.
And you can only carry 1 log at a time, and you have to carry it all the way to your you have like a little trough looking guy that you put wood on. Like it called it the wood stockpile, but it's like a little like taco that you fill full of logs.
Yeah.
And so you have to go and haul them from the forest back to your house, and then you can saw them into like planks and stuff like that you can then use to make stuff.
Okay.
So it's very time consuming to get wood because you have to go and chop down the tree, then haul the logs back, then cut the logs into planks, and then you can cut the planks into whatever you want to be. Do you want headstones? Do you want a little border? Do you want to make furniture or something? Like whatever you need to make.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with like the other resources like stone and metal. You have to go and find like a vein in the cliffside. You have to mine it, which gives you a big slab of it, and you have to carry that slab all the way back to your house.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it was really grindy in the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, the very first update this game got was like a free update where they added zombies, and it was but like instead of being like zombies that want to eat your brains, they're like a zombie workforce basically.
Okay.
So instead of burying the bodies, you could choose to go and like do some alchemy stuff to them and make them little mindless workers that you could basically set up tasks for them to do, and they would just do it. So like I had a spot where I had one zombie set to go and cut down trees, and then he would bring the wood back to like a specific stockpile near him, and then I'd put another zombie to bring that wood from the stockpile back to my house.
Okay.
And you can do the same thing with like the stone and the metals and all that. You can have them bring them to you. So they're doing that, so I don't have to go and get the resources.
Yeah.
So it cuts a huge swath of the grind out of the game.
Yeah.
Which I remember back then, that was kind of my big complaint. That's part of the reason why I didn't get to the end. Was that in the later game, they want you to make a lot of like higher quality items.
Mm-hmm.
And those take forever to make because you have to make like a bunch of the smaller level stuff to then make the bigger level stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just so grindy and I was so annoyed with it. And I was like, no, I'll come back to it. Because it's a great concept. I love the art style. Because it's kind of like a less bright Stardew Valley. You know? I feel like all the colors in Stardew Valley are very bright.
Well, this is on the complete opposite. I would equate the color palette for this to Factorio, where it's all just brown and ugly.
Well, yeah, like as far as the color palette, yes, but like Factorio has something else going on in the color scheme, or at least in the pixel art that they do.
Yeah.
That makes it hard to look at.
Yeah.
This game doesn't do that. It's just more muted, natural colors.
It's very brown and dingy.
But that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Like the whole point is like you're in this little village on the outskirts of the big city that like no one wants to live there.
Yeah.
It's like this grimy little dirty town that no one likes, and even the people who live there hate living there.
Yeah.
And so, and it's great. Like, and you just do different stuff. Like, I really like that it eventually like it kind of slowly kind of snowballs as far as like the efficiency and how big things can get and all the stuff you can do. Because you can pretty much have zombies do just about everything.
Yeah.
And so I really liked that. And at one point you get to a point where you actually have to have zombies do stuff. Like one of the NPCs will eventually want you to make shipments for him. Or like you basically make crates full of goods that he then takes to the town and sells.
Okay.
And that's like the best way to make money in the game. And you get there probably about 2/3 of the way through the game, maybe halfway through the game. But you can't carry these crates; they're too heavy.
Yeah.
So you have to have a zombie who hauls the crates into the warehouse for him to take.
Okay.
I don't know how he takes them. you never see that; they just disappear, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool game. It's got a lot of, like I said, it's basically a game of never-ending fetch quests. It's got a lot of funny stuff where, like, at one point you wind up becoming like the priest who does services at the church. And your guy will get up at the altar and be like, "May the force be with you," stuff like that. And everyone's like, "Wow, what a great sermon," you know.
Yeah.
And so that happens, and basically over the course of the thing, you find out you have to go on like little quests to collect things to like try to go home,
Okay.
you know. And that's like that's basically as far as I can go without trying to spoil the story.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool. It has had 2 major DLCs since it came out, which
Okay.
I hadn't really tapped into those until more recently.
Yeah.
And they give you a lot more of the story because the base game doesn't really tell you a lot about what's going on. It's literally just you're stuck here, make do.
Yeah.
I mean, with the DLC, you're still stuck there. It's just they tell you more about why this place is the way it is and why everyone hates it. why they keep having to bring the dead people from the town into this little village and stuff like that. You know? So it's pretty cool, and the DLC adds a lot more mechanics and stuff like that. Like one of them makes it so you can basically run a bar. So
Okay.
you build a bar in town, and you can you craft the beer and stuff like that you sell at your bar. And so it's just kind of like little extra layers of stuff that you can do and added mechanics and stuff to work on. It's a lot. Like I said, in my mind, it feels a lot like Stardew Valley to me, as far as like what itch it scratches.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it. Like I said, I like that it has a bit of a darker sense of humor because everything in it, like it's all about death and stuff, and no one's very happy, and it just seems like it references a lot of like video games and stuff like that, because it seems like since the character's from the modern era, like he knows about all that stuff, you know, about video games and pop culture references and stuff, and so he makes these jokes, and people are like, "What?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it," and then he moves on, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. I mean, did you ever watch me play any of this one? I mean, I think
Not really. Briefly.
maybe like a little bit, not enough to actually get a feel for it.
No.
But I really liked it. It's a pretty cool game. I would definitely recommend it. Like maybe you would try it out one day. It's like if you like Stardew Valley and all that, it might be something you enjoy. But I don't know. I really liked it. I think you'd get a kick out of it. I should recommend it to Jacob. I bet you he would get a kick out of it. It's especially because he plays a lot of those. He's prone to playing games like this, the simulation ones that we play and all that. So I'll have to recommend it. But yeah, so that was Graveyard Keeper from Lazy Bear Games and Tiny Build. What did you play?
So this week I played a game called House Flipper. And this is by Empyrean and published by the Frozen District and Playway SA. House Flipper. This came out in 2018. I feel like I found out about it later. I feel like I found out about it last year when the quarantine first started, because I remember that's when I first played it.
I think you found out about it the year before quarantine. I think we watched some Yogs play it.
Okay.
I don't know if it was Duncan or Tom or somebody.
Yeah.
But I think you saw them, and I think during quarantine, I think it went on sale.
That could be what it was.
And we picked it up.
But so this game is basically what it sounds like. It's all of those HGTV shows where it's like, oh, this house is a fixer-upper, let's work on it and sell it. That's what this game is, and that's why it fits me so
perfect
perfectly.
for you.
Yeah. So you start out and you have this small little shack that you're living in, and it's a mess, and you can clean up your own place and renovate it and stuff like that. But what you really want to work on, especially starting out, is there's a lot of little quests. Someone's like, oh, can you come and clean up my garage and repaint the bathroom in there? And you're like, yeah, I got this, and you go and you pick, you clean it up. I do like that it does have a mode where, so when you're going to clean up these really rundown houses, there's cockroaches just crawling everywhere.
That's not cool.
And you have to clean them up. But because this game knows that people are scared of bugs, you can switch on an option that changes it to broken glass. So instead of seeing cockroaches running around the floor, it's just a pile of broken glass.
Okay.
Which is so much better, because I was I'm not really that freaked out by bugs. It doesn't bother me that much. I'll be fine. And then I looked at it and I was like, that looks disgusting. I can't.
I think it's cool that people would do something like that. I think the guys who did Satisfactory did something like that too. They had an arachnophobia mode.
Yeah.
Because the bugs you fight in that game are spiders.
Okay.
But it turns them into holograms of kittens. It's funny.
Okay.
But don't worry about it. Still. Okay,
But yeah, so you're going to these different jobs where you're basically, it's a lot of repetition. You're doing the same things in different places so that you increase your skill in it. You only get better at painting by painting more. You only get better at laying tile by laying more tile. And so that's the whole process of the game. And you take these little jobs where it's oh, I'll give you, $1,000 to come clean up my garage and repaint my bathroom. And you get there and it's a complete mess. And it's okay, well, I'll throw this stuff away. Oh, that's something I could sell. I'll sell that, fix everything up, put everything on shelves, buy shelves if they're asking for shelves, things like that. And then you buy paint, you paint the bathroom, you make sure everything's clean. And it's really satisfying to me, just in the same way that I really want to play Viscera Cleanup Crew. Because that's another one where it's just clean. And, just have a podcast on or an audiobook or something, and just therapeutic cleaning where you don't have to physically clean.
Yeah. Well, in Viscera Cleanup Crew, that's something. That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, and I totally forgot that I had that game, so I'm gonna be playing that.
Well, yeah, I picked it up for us on one of the Steam sales.
But that's what this is, and then there's DLC where you can do gardens, and so you can do the front yard and backyard, and you can add pools and barbecue pits and plants and fences. It does everything. The one thing that I was really annoyed about, I think 5 jobs in, I was okay, I've redone enough bathrooms, let me try something outside, and I went outside and I was okay, this is a really big yard, and they want a pool, so I can do that, and whatever. And then it was I needed to mow the lawn, and so I started mowing the lawn.
No.
And it was just so it just went so crazy. The sensitivity was crazy, and so I was missing little tiny slivers of grass in between, and I was just nope, I'm done. I can't do this.
You gotta go back. I bet you could tweak the sensitivity settings or something.
I'm sure you could, but at that point, like I said, I was 5 jobs in, and that was all in one sitting, and I was this is it. This is the end. I'm not gonna put myself through this anymore. But I'm sure coming back to it, I'll be better with it. It's just after 5 jobs, It's tiring.
Yeah,
Especially
you gotta go back to it. Like,
well, especially like when you're painting the walls and stuff. It's not like you're dragging your mouse to paint the wall. It's like paint this little section, and it'll paint a straight little column on the wall, like from floor to ceiling. You just click on it, and it'll paint it. You don't have to actually like paint it.
drag the mouse over the entire wall, and it's like, oh, you missed a corner.
No, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The only thing that it does that on is if you're cleaning windows, then you have to be like precise. But even then, the squeegee's really big, so it's not that hard.
Does it make the whole like noise as you're squeegeeing?
No, I don't think so.
Oh. Well, I can dream.
But other than like the like squeegeeing and mowing the lawn, I can't think of anything else in there that was like frustrating. Where it was like I can't get this tiny little sliver. Like, oh my god. But with the lawnmower, it felt like you were either, like, walking super slow or, like, running 100 miles an hour down the yard. And it was just like...
could that be another one of the skills? Like, you said that everything in the game, you get, quote, better at it the more you do it. So maybe you have to, like, level up your mowing ability.
It could be.
To mow in a straight line, you know?
It could be.
It'd be like, you know, you tell some teenager, hey, go mow the lawn, you just let him go. He's never mowed before.
It's not that bad though.
I'm just saying, like the game's gonna assume that you're a grown adult who's never mowed before, and you're trying to run your own house improvement business.
Yeah,
because like, so you said that it starts out with like you taking a bunch of like little jobs, but I'm guessing like it's the kind of like you're just trying to build capital so that you can then eventually like buy a rundown house and then like flip it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So your goal is that you're trying to make money to improve your own house because your little base is always the same little house. You want to improve that. But also, you can buy a house and then fix it up, redo everything, and then sell it for profit.
Well, yeah.
And so that's what the whole game is about. It's about flipping houses, which is
it's for all those people who dream about being actual house flippers that don't have one, the capital, and two, the actual know-how to flip houses.
Yeah.
Like watching all those HGTV shows, it's always like, it seems cool. But I don't think I could ever do that, you know? Like when they're all like, yeah, you see this little countertop here? We're going to rip this out and put in another whatever. And, oh my gosh, there's a hidden wall here. What is happening? You know, there's a bathroom in the wall. And like random nonsense as they're like tearing apart these like houses and stuff. And like, I just don't. The only thing I think I could do on those shows is put a sledgehammer through a wall. That's probably all I could do.
But yeah, so that's this game, and like I said, and you don't start off knowing everything either. Like you can't start off and just go lay tile. Like you have to progress slowly. You have to lay carpet and other flooring before you get tile unlocked and stuff like that. So it's all a
same
series.
thing with like backsplash. Like, or is backsplash a tile skill? Or
it's a tile skill, but it's all a process. You have to go through it, and you know, and then at the end when like I think I did buy my first house and I sold it. And during that, it's like, oh, they liked the art, or they didn't like the lighting, or whatever. And it's like, then you kind of learn what the market wants in a house.
Well, doesn't it give you like hints about what sellers are looking for and stuff like that? Like, oh, so and so likes pendant lights, and so and so hates wallpaper, and stuff like that. So it seems like an interesting game. I remember when we got it, like I was like, this is right up your alley. Mm-hmm. And so like, it's got a couple of DLC. Like I see one on here that lets you design like apocalypse bunkers. Yeah,
that's a free DLC. And then there's the garden flipper, which is the paid one. And then there's an actual HGTV house flipper.
And that just adds a bunch of assets and stuff, right? Like I think it adds like decor you can buy to put in a house.
Which is important because I feel like with some things it was like refrigerator and it's like two different kinds. And it's like, well, I don't really want a white one and I don't want a black one. I kind of want a gray one. Where's the middle ground?
Well, now they give you a stainless steel 2-door complete with freezer drawer.
But yeah, I really like this game. It's a lot of fun. I just feel like it is a bit tedious, but I mean, why? Of course it is. You're painting walls by little sections.
That's the nature of simulation games. I mean, this is another one. Its tags
simulation.
Are simulation, building, single player, realistic, and 3D.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, simulation. I think every simulation game is gonna be, if you water it down, tedious.
Yeah.
You know, like, think about, like, if we ever play Farming Simulator. You're literally just tilling the land, planting some crops, waiting for the crops to grow. Now you're cutting.
Well, you're doing other things when you're waiting for the crops to grow. You can't just sit there and wait.
I'm just saying. Like, it's going to feel tedious.
That's when, in that one too, can't you take like little side jobs? And it's like while you're waiting for your crops to go harvest this other person's crops.
Yeah,
or till their field.
I think you can. I think you can.
Yeah.
I think in the newer versions you can take missions to go and harvest someone else's field for them.
Mm-hmm.
So like they'll just pay you an amount based on how much you harvest. I think you can also take, like, if you want to go and cut down trees and stuff like that, you can sell lumber.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if that has to be on your land or if you just go and cut down trees willy-nilly. Like,
anywhere.
like, I remember like, we watched some of the Yogs play one of the versions of it,
Yeah.
and they were just cutting down trees, like, anywhere.
Yeah.
And they would go and, like, rent the equipment and all that and run with it. So, I think a bit of tedium is probably pretty common.
Yeah, but I really like this game. It is one that if I just felt like I really want to like redo a house right now, like I would totally go to this. Like, we have so many things we want to do with our house, and to me this is like my outlet for being able to do something while we can't in real life at the moment.
Yeah, I'd say. But yeah, so House Flipper by Empyrean.
I would pronounce it Empyrean.
I think I'd pronounce it Empyrean as well. But it was really cool. Like, I don't think it's my cup of tea as far as a game I'd play.
Yeah.
I think this is one that if it had multiplayer, I would play it with
Oh,
you.
it would be so much fun as multiplayer. Yeah. Like
okay,
I'm going to paint this wall, you paint that one. Okay,
Yeah.
now put the flooring down. Yeah.
Because that's half the fun of, like, all those HGTV shows. It's always a duo.
Yeah.
Either it's a husband and wife, or it's like they're sisters, or it's something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a pair, and they do stuff together.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I would want to do. Because then, like, we could, like, level up different skills. It's like, oh, Erica is a master painter and decorator. Nick does tiling and windows and stuff like that,
Yeah.
you know, and can they flip these unflippable houses? You know, find out, you know.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
So, it's pretty cool. I remember you were so excited when we got this. You got this around the same time I got Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlord.
Yeah, probably.
Because I remember you were playing this while I was playing Bannerlord.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you were telling me about the house you were working on, and I was like, well, I just took a castle. It felt great, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, so that was my game. That's House Flipper. So what tabletop game did we play this week?
So the tabletop game we played this week is, it's called Patchwork. It's a couple years old, came out in 2014, but honestly, I only heard about it recently, like when we started doing more of the podcast stuff.
Yeah.
Like, because right after we started doing the podcast stuff, I know you started taking a deeper dive into two-player games. Because most of the games we had done before that were all, like, the ones that are, like, 2 to 6 players and stuff like that. You know, they had the big ranges. But when we started doing this, you started taking more of a dive on, like, Reddit and the internet about games that are best as 2 players or strictly 2 players.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you mentioning this game back then.
Yeah.
Because you had, like, a list of games that were like, oh, these would be cool to try out and all that. And now we're just now getting to it on the list, you know. But Patchwork is a 2-player game. I like how on Board Game Geek it says that it's best with 2. I mean, because it's a 2-player.
It's a 2-player game.
It's a 2-player game.
Yeah.
I could see how it might have a single-player variant. You know, like you just play yourself to get a high score kind of thing.
Yeah, you could.
You could. You know, is it the best way to go? Probably
No,
not. But
yeah.
it says 15 to 30 minutes playtime. I think that's believable.
Yeah, I think
Us
that's pretty
having never
accurate.
played before, it took us maybe 30 minutes to go through a run.
Yeah.
And that was mostly just being like, well, is that a good piece? Because the way that this game works, the base premise is that we are making our own quilts.
Yes.
You know, patchwork. All right? And we are competing over different swaths of fabric to use in our quilts. They all come in different shapes and sizes, so it's kind of like Tetris. Reminds me a lot of Tetris.
Yeah.
Each player has their own board, which I think is like a 10 by 10 square, a 10 by 10 grid.
I think that's right.
And basically you have all these random shapes that you're picking from, and you want to fill up as much of your quilt lot as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And you do this by spending buttons. And you get buttons by either going down the turn track and passing a button spot, or you have to catch up with your opponent.
Yeah.
So it has a neat little mechanic where basically whoever is not in the lead can keep taking turns until they are in the lead.
Yes.
And so basically, if you have a lot of money saved up, you can basically just keep buying patches for your quilt until you run out of money or until you're ahead.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of a neat thing, that basically it's kind of like, well, do you want to keep going, or would you rather just end it and catch up with the other person? Because the game keeps going until you get to the end of the turn track, which is a cute little quilt spiral that works its way in. But
yeah, and so the way you're moving up on the track is either by, when you buy a quilt piece, it'll have the cost in number of buttons, and then it'll have like a little hourglass next to it with a number, and that's how many spaces you move up on the time track.
That's right, because all of it's supposed to signify how long it takes to stitch that patch into your quilt.
Yeah, which I think is really cute. Or if Nick was 3 spaces ahead of me, I could say, okay, on my turn, instead of buying something, I'm just going to move up until I'm 1 in front of him. And so then I get 1 button for every square that I pass on my way to being in front of Nick. And then it's Nick's turn. So that's where you can kind of just be like, okay, well, I'm done buying. I'm just going to move up.
Yeah.
I felt like there weren't a lot of instances in which it was like, oh, Nick's like 10 ahead of me. I'm going to just buy this one and buy that one and buy this next one.
I think it only happened once.
It only happened once, yeah.
And it really just depends on, I think I made a bad choice in my patch purchase because like I wanted, because the way that the button income happens on the time counter is that you have to buy patches that have buttons on them already.
Yes.
And so then whenever you pass the button marker, you get to draw that many buttons for money.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, I need money. So I was trying to buy a bunch of patches that would get me more money at those times.
But they moved you up on the time track.
But they moved you up a lot farther. It'd be like, oh, this patch costs 5 buttons and 6 time track spots. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I was doing it because like it had like on top of costing 5 and 6 time,
it would give you like 3 buttons.
3 buttons on every income spot.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's kind of worth it in the long run, you know? Turns out it wasn't.
Turns
out it wasn't. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah, our end score was like Nick had -7 points and I had 23.
Yeah. Because, like we said, you go until both players are at the end of the turn of the timetable.
Yeah.
And when you get to the end, you add up how many buttons do you have left over, and then you subtract 2 for every empty square on your quilt path.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how many empty spaces I had. Like I was buying patches and stuff, but just wasn't enough.
It's because the patches you were buying were moving you up on the time track a lot. And the ones that I was buying, they weren't necessarily big, but they filled up my squares, and they didn't move me up as fast. Like, there was one that I bought for 1 button and moved me up 2 spaces. Like, the one time where I did do, like, 4 turns before Nick could go, you had bought one that moved you up, like, 9 spaces.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well, this one's 2, and that one's 2, and that one's 2, and then this one's a 4, and then I'm ahead.
Yeah. So it's definitely the kind of thing, like, you have to look at, because the patches that you array them all in a big circle, and you draw them randomly, so, like, the circle is going to be different every time. And when you buy, you can only buy one of the 3 patches that are in front of the marker.
Yes.
And you move the marker to whichever patch you're buying then.
In the clockwise direction. So it's around a circle around the board.
Yeah.
So the board's in the center, where the time tracker board is in the center. Then you arrange all the patches around that.
Yeah.
And then you put your little peg wherever you want to start. And then only the 3 that are clockwise from that peg are the ones that you could buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of have to kind of look out for what's coming.
Yes.
But you also have to make smart decisions about what you're filling up. Because, like, yeah, you want to fill it up, and much like Tetris, you don't want to leave, like, random holes.
Yeah.
Because the only way to fill a one spot is similar to how there's buttons on the time tracker. There's also little 1 patches. And it's just a patch that's a 1 square patch. And that's the only way to just fill 1 random hole.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to buy, like, big pieces that'll fill up a lot of spots, but won't move you up too much on the turn tracker.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've got to make sure that you are actually filling things in.
Yeah. And that was your problem, is that you weren't actually filling things in. And then there was also a bonus 7 points for whoever could fill out a 7x7 square on their board first.
Yeah.
And that was what my goal was. I was like, I'm going to fill out the 7x7 square. And I did. And so that gave me points at the end, but it also ensured that I was filling out my board. Because, like you said, it's a 10x10, I think. So if you're filling out 7x7, that's already the majority of the board.
It is. You're right. I think my issue was I was getting too fixated on like I would plan too far ahead. Like I'd be looking at, okay, I was like, so Erica will buy one of those ones, and we'll probably move up to there, and then maybe I can get that one, and it'll go there, and then maybe I can get that one, you know? And like I think I was getting too caught up in like planning really far ahead.
Yeah.
And I should have just been focusing more on filling the thing in.
I think also you were just more focused on button income, and the pieces that you got weren't necessarily
Big,
but they gave you a lot of buttons. And so, yeah, at the end, I mean, I had 38, I think you had 39. So even though I was only getting like 10 buttons per income track,
you also weren't spending very many buttons.
Right, I was buying the cheaper ones that filled, but I still was able to fill up more space on my board.
So that was my issue. I needed to find a better balance between having good button income but also good board coverage.
Yeah,
was my problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like
yeah.
I really enjoy this one. It's a fantastic addition. Honestly, like it's nice. Like and what were we're talking about? We're gonna go and find little buttons. Because the currency that comes in the game are they're little tokens, little like cardboard tokens that have pictures of buttons on them.
Yeah.
And you were talking about actually getting buttons like real buttons
to
use for the money. And I was like, that's a great idea. Like, oh my gosh, that'd be so great.
Like, why wouldn't you?
No, I completely agree. Like, I am totally on board with that. Like, I know you have a big bottle jar.
I've got like 2 or 3 little jars
of just buttons.
Yeah.
And I was like, so we could easily find ones that match and could replace the little cardboard tokens, and you just have a little baggie full of buttons. And it's like, button income.
Yeah, the blues are 1s, the reds are 5s, the greens are 10s, and then the purples are 20s, and play like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be really cool. I like I said, I really like this one. I'm really liking a lot of the 2-player games more than I originally thought I was going to.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think they were gonna not be fun.
Yeah.
I just in my mind I've always associated board games with like groups of people at the table,
Mm-hmm.
And no, that's not always the case. Especially for us, like we're busy people.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have the time to get all my family together, like to have like where we actually have a full board of people. Like like playing Catan with your sister and her husband. Like I love that. Like when you can actually play a game with the full player count, that's a lot of fun. But it can't always happen.
Yeah.
And then we've discovered that a lot of games, they're not the same when you just play it 2-player. Like I'm thinking like Brass. Brass I really liked, but you could tell it's meant for 4 players.
Yeah.
It's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so playing with just 2, you're missing some of its ness.
Yeah. I'm also still really looking for solo games.
That's definitely one that like it's because I know it is a thing.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a more spread out thing. Like it's harder to find quality solo experiences in games. So like I know there are ones that have it as like an afterthought. Like I think doesn't Wingspan have a thing where it's like the automata?
Yeah.
Where like, but I think that's totally an afterthought. It's kind of like we made the game. Could we make it single player?
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe.
Well, because also like a lot of single players are just like beat your high score, and it's like that's fun and all, but I'd rather it be more than just beat your high score.
Well, but that's just it. Like, what more are you wanting?
Well, like in Cristallo, it's not beat your high score; it's beat the game. The game itself is hard enough.
That's true.
You hardly ever win a game of Cristallo.
Well, but even Cristallo then has a thing like once you get good at it, then you have ways to get better at it. That's when it starts being beat your score.
But it's not even score though. It just makes it a little bit more complex. Like instead of just getting certain cards, like now you're trying to also collect these treasures as you're going along.
Yeah.
Which makes it more difficult. I
It
feel.
does.
Rather than it just being like, oh, you scored 100. This round you scored 105. Congratulations. Like that's I don't really like that.
I mean, I get you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see pros and cons for both.
I feel like I want ones where it's not a matter of how well you solve it, but solving it in itself.
But that sounds more like a puzzle than a single-player game.
Yeah, but...
Which means you're wanting more of a puzzle.
No, I'm wanting games, but I'm thinking like Solitaire. You can play rounds and rounds of Solitaire and not solve all of them.
That's true.
And Cristallo, you can play rounds and rounds of it and not win it.
Well, there you go. That's something we have to think of. We need to cook. We need to cook up a solid solo experience.
Yeah,
I think we could do it. your brains and my whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
we could figure something.
But yeah, so that's it for this week. So we talked about Graveyard Keeper, House Flipper, and Patchwork.
All fantastic, just lovely games.
Yeah.
Really recommend all of them. So.
Well, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again next week. Bye.
Toodles.
If you're digging the Unearthing Games podcast, give us a positive rating on your podcast directory, or give us a thumbs up on our YouTube channel. Share the podcast with your DM or local game shop owner or your best friend. And check out our website at unearthinggames.com. The Unearthing Games podcast is recorded in front of a live puppy audience. All borks, ruffs, jingles, and squeaks are completely original and not added in post.